Quantum Conversations, your portal to the inner realms. Access infinite possibilities, infinite mastery, and infinite love. Mind-expanding, heart-opening conversations with some of the greatest spiritual teachers, luminaries, and healers of today's world. Usher in new earth by living in your sacred heart. Quantum Conversations is brought to you by acoustichealth.com, home of music from the universe, online healing retreats, and this program. Claim your free registration to daily shows at acoustichealth.com. acoustichealth.com, your portal to the inner realms. Our program starts shortly. Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. When we're talking about our mastery and new earth creations, this is where we can take incredible leaps. And we know very well that then any pain or trauma that we need to clear out actually opens us up to beautiful inspiration and insight once we do that. And so no matter where we are on this journey, we can make a quantum leap, whether it's in healing and overcoming something that's blocking us, or even old belief systems, BS as we love to call them, that keep us from achieving what it is we want to manifest. And then we can activate our highest gifts, work with our higher self, and really create new earth. My guest today is here to help you make the biggest impact. Deirdre Sirianni is here to share with you beautiful ways to release patterns and blocks and all trauma. And I want to welcome our guest to Quantum Conversations. Hello, Deirdre.
Hi. How are you doing? I'm excited to be here today.
We are so excited to have you here. We're going to take questions from our audience, and I'd love you to share about your personal experience of getting into this work. You are a very good coach that works with people all around the world in leadership, and also you work on a spiritual level, and you've even spoken on TEDx, and that is beautiful. So here you are, helping people align with their purpose. I know that's a big question, and let's start with you. What is your story of awakening to your true purpose? How did that happen?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I love this question because I really do believe that our purpose is birthed from our deepest disconnection from self, our deepest challenges, and oftentimes our traumas that are scary when they want to come to the surface. So my purpose was birthed into the world. You know, I grew up in a family where from the outside looking in, everything looked perfect, everything looked great. However, I had a family member that was struggling with an addiction. And so if anyone's listening right now, or you've experienced this of being with someone in any kind of relationship where the person's struggling with an addiction, it can feel very much like you are walking on eggshells. And so at a young age, I started to develop this way of being where I was the people pleaser, I was friends with everyone, everyone's cheerleader, but I didn't let anyone get too close to me because I had this fear of being seen fully for what was going on behind the scenes of my life. And so what manifested in my young years and also into my mid-20s is I got really good living a dual life. I got really good at checking things off the list. I got really good at getting external validation. But no matter what I did, I kept reaching these milestones and looking around at people in my life and wondering, are they really as happy as they seem? Or are they pretending as much as me? And I kept asking myself that question, is this really all there is in the relationship I was in the career? And I had this internal feeling that something was missing, but people outside of me thought that I had it all together. So because I never learned to feel my feelings, and this is really common in the dynamic of having a family member who has an addiction, it can be, not necessarily okay to express yourself. So sometimes we can shove our feelings down, is I shoved down a lot of the universal signs that my body, my universe was telling me that I wasn't living on purpose, and that I was betraying myself, I was sidestepping my purpose, and that I was essentially self-harming. And it came in the form of dis-ease. I manifested 4 different types of autoimmune disease. I had depression. I had anxiety attacks all the time. And the thing is, no matter what I was going through, it still looks like I had the perfect life from the outside looking in, until I had a rock bottom moment where I went to the doctor because I lost a massive chunk of hair on the top of my head. And now I really believe that was the universe saying, okay, she's a stubborn one. She doesn't like to listen to the nudges and the bigger signs. And so we're going to go after her vanity, because growing up, it was all about making it seem like I had it all together. That was a coping mechanism. That was something I developed to protect myself. Mm-hmm. And so I lost a chunk of hair, and I found that I had another autoimmune disease. And in that moment, I decided that this wasn't going to be my story. This wasn't going to be my life. And I chose to finally listen and surrender to the path of least resistance, which was me stepping away from a marriage, which was me stepping away from a career where I had a lot of external validation, and finally surrendering to healing my traumas that were preventing me from knowing or fully living in my truth and living on purpose. So if we go back to your question, I know it's kind of a long story.
No, it's really perfect. Yeah.
There's a lot, but this is the thing, we're so multi-layered, right? There's so many levels to it. And it created your world.
It created your world. And so as you went to surrender and listen to that higher guidance, taking the path of least resistance, when you say getting out of a marriage and shifting a career, some would say, oh my gosh, staying in that would be the path of least resistance. But you this is like a different take on it. It's not so easy to do that path. That was very bold how you did that. So I just wanted to say that, but please continue, because your career was something that others would look at too, right? And say, wow, she's got it all.
Absolutely. And that was the tough thing, because I was so stuck in my identity of who I thought I was, who I thought I needed to be, who other people thought I was and should be. And this is what happens in life. We get caught up in these identities that we formed. And was it easy to leave the marriage? No. Was it easy to step away from a career in business where I had a lot of external validation? No, but the truth was, the reason why it's the path of least resistance, and this might be the most important piece that I have to share today, is my body was saying no to the life that I created. So if I know on a soul level that if I didn't change my life, if I didn't heal my trauma, if I didn't start listening to myself, learning to self-trust, learning to find what is it rather than questioning, is this it? I know that I would have died within a year from cancer, because that is what my soul told me. And I knew that to be true because everything else was manifesting so quickly. So our path of least resistance at the beginning feels like the path of most resistance, because it's usually wrapped up in all of our identities. And so once we move through that resistance, then it's the path of just being ourselves and healing our deepest traumas, which reveal our biggest gift for humanity. And so that's what I'm committed to today, is helping other people become the leader of their life, heal their trauma, make an impact in the world, and really allow their spiritual gifts to come online, because we all have them.
And you really help the people that you work with go into the core of that and whittle down through those layers and really identify what that is. And as we share on this program, that's how we create New Earth. It comes from our passion, and it comes from living in the heart and listening to that soul. Yes, Deirdre, you had the proverbial 2x4 over the head, right? And so good that you began to listen. And it's not always easy, but, you know, you saw the signs. I would love to know, what year about did this happen?
Wow. So, okay, so this is about, when I really made the shift, when I knew that my marriage was over, when I knew that my body was essentially, my soul was killing me because I wasn't listening to it, I would say this is about 8 years ago. So 8 years ago is when that really happened. So that would be...
that would be 2012 or 2013.
Yeah.
2013? Yes. Okay, the reason I say this is because we all know we've gone through this great shift.
Right.
And we just start to see, you know, some people entered the shift in their lives. They saw it before that window, like maybe 2010. But this is right in a big shift, and it happened in your own life. It happened in your marriage and your career. And I want you to share, because I know something about you that you shared with me as we had a call about this show. And you were in media. Can you share a little bit about that job and that career that was, I would say it was glamorous?
Yeah, so I loved working in radio and television, but you know what? I wasn't covering topics that I cared about. It wasn't quite it. It was a fun thing where I was using my, immediate gifts. I loved talking. I loved meeting people, but it wasn't it. The career that I had, though, that I had before stepping into what I do now, is I was in the space of yoga and personal development, and I was sponsored by different companies, and I was on television for specifically being a yoga instructor in the health and wellness space. And I loved doing it. I was great at it, but I was like, I don't feel like I'm making the kind of impact that I'm here to make. I kept having this feeling that I was playing small. And I find that oftentimes when we are being called to step into something greater than ourselves, when we do have our awakening, our shifts, our wake up calls, it's because we are not bringing our fullest gift, our fullest self to the table. And that's what I felt. And I was like, you know what? I can teach yoga in my sleep. Not coming from a place of being egotistical about it. There are some incredible yoga teachers out there, and every single time they show up to teach yoga, they are excited, they're bringing their full self, and they are multi-layered in it, and it is so amazing. For me, it was like I was going through the motions of it, and I was like, I'm not feeling this because I'm not bringing my fullest, truest self to that. And I had opportunities, and I wasn't excited about stepping into them, and that can happen when we're not living in our gifts and we're not living on purpose, right? So that's what I really felt called to share there, as far as purpose and knowing what our lane is. And usually we get these signs when we're younger. People give us compliments. They're like, oh, you're really great at this, or, you really helped me in this space, or you're a natural. And oftentimes our greatest gifts are the areas of our life that we downplay because we've always had them. And so my gift came from me recognizing that I wanted to be more in the space of coaching and leadership and encouraging people and healing. A big part of it came down to the trauma work, healing the trauma, geeking out on learning more about trauma. and also from people constantly telling me how I changed their life from a conversation. So all of the nudges are there, all of the signs are there. It's just the question is, are we paying attention, and have we removed what's in the way out of the way so that we can see our path clearly?
Yes. Let's talk about that. What keeps people from seeing their path clearly?
It really has to do with, I was mentioning this a little bit earlier, it's our personality, right? Our personality has become who we've identified ourselves as. And our personality is our past trauma, right? So it's things that haven't felt good in our past, that have happened to us, the stories that we've created around us, our own limitations, who we can or can't be. It's where we grew up, the people in our life that, who they think we should be, who they think we are, who we think we are, who we think we should be, and everything that we've done and who we've been in our past is our personality. So when we're operating in our sense of personality, we're actually operating in the past, and we're blocking ourselves from our true identity, and we're blocking ourselves from our infinite self. Because you, myself, and everyone that's listening right now, we are capable of doing and creating and being anything that we want. The only thing that's in the way is our personality. And so how do we move through our personality? We move through our personality by really understanding on a deep level our core belief systems, and also by healing our trauma, because our trauma gets encoded into us physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, and we're walking around every day saying, I want to do this, or I feel called to be here, or whatever it is that you really want us into. But then what happens is you get triggered, and you're not even aware of it. And maybe an opportunity is right in front of you to have that relationship that you've always wanted, right? But then you get in fear and you step away from it, or you make up reasons why it couldn't work. Or maybe that opportunity for you to step into that space of being in a space of being a healer, or being a coach, or writing that book, or moving to somewhere on the opposite side of the world. And you don't take action because there's something inside of you that's telling you it's not safe. And it's very difficult today because a lot of people haven't learned how to understand their intuition and know the difference between intuition and trauma, because both of them show up really quickly. And if you're not trained in that, you can take acts of self-sabotage, stepping away from yourself, self-harm, and continue to get in your own way. So upper limiting, really understanding your core belief systems from the past, and then healing your trauma on a deep level, because when you remove those roots of the things that have been weighing you down energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you become unstoppable and you can see things clearly. But, I had a lot of trauma growing up. I had a lot of things that were in my way, and because of that, I kept getting in my way until I had my wake-up call and knew that something needed to change.
You knew it. You just knew it. Yep. Well, thank you for listening and moving forward on that, and really understanding that we're here to make a huge impact. Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, it's the healing, and we open up to so much more when we do that. So when you were talking about understanding the difference between intuition and your trauma, can you give an example on this?
Absolutely. So, let's see. Let's feel into, what's a relevant example that's recently happened to me? Because I always like to be in the driver's seat of something recent. So an example of trauma can be you're newly in a relationship, right? And the person showing up consistently, everything is working out well, but then something pops up in you and it feels like fear, right? It's like, oh, fear, I don't feel safe, right? And as soon as we don't feel safe, what do? We contract, we retract, we get out of there, we react, right? Or fawn, which is, there's so many different trauma responses. So when you have a fear, when you have a response that's really strong, well, one thing to do is to ask yourself, is this from a past experience, right? Because if it's similar to a past experience that you've had, and this is a pattern of yours, it's very possible that it be a trauma or an imprint. And if it's connected to a core belief system that you have that it's not safe to be in a relationship, I can't trust men, or whatever the story is, then, there's some space potentially to go there and look there. Another way to understand whether or not it is intuition or trauma, and this is something that I teach people more on a physical body piece in some of my programs, because I really do feel like understanding specifically how your body communicates different things is important, because the soul communicates through symptoms, pain, discomfort, all of that. And it's different based on you and based on your body and how you experience things. So a little bit deeper. However, what I like to think of too is, if you're like naturally excited about something. So for example, let's say that you're selling a program and I'm so excited about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I really want to sign up. This is going to help me. And then all of a sudden, after I get excited and I'm having a conversation with you, fear comes up. And I say, because this is a spiritual bypass thing that many of us do, and I think you can be guilty of this in some way. Oh, my intuition told me I shouldn't do it, or it didn't feel quite right, or whatever. When really it could be a pattern around fear of your greatness. It could be fear of not getting the results that you want, fear of not trusting yourself, and all of these other things can come to the surface. And really, your intuition is usually the first feeling that comes up for you. So if you're naturally excited, or you naturally trust someone, or you naturally feel safe in a specific situation, of course there's so many different events and pieces and details here, that's typically your intuition, right? However, when a thought comes up, or there's some time and then fear comes up, that can oftentimes be from trauma, and it can be fear-based belief systems that are blocking you from really leaning into the discomfort and having a breakthrough, essentially. But there are different layers to it, and it's also challenging too, because when we have unhealed trauma, we're constantly on the radar looking for anything that looks, feels, smells, tastes, energetically is like something that's happened from the past, which is why if you really want to be on purpose, fully trust yourself on a very deep level, which I truly believe is one of the most important things for each and every one of us in the world to strengthen. Because if we all trust ourselves, we're going to show up more powerfully, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to do the things. And we're just going to be able to show up and express ourselves and not self-harm. So once we heal our trauma, we're able to feel that we're able to feel the difference in a much bigger way.
Yes, absolutely. We can heal that trauma, and it's not always so easy to go through that pain, but it's like sometimes, would you say, just an awareness of that trauma, just a little bit of the awareness. Doesn't have to be too much, or you don't have to go too into it. Mm-hmm. Not bypassing it, but just a little bit of the awareness really helps to do a lot, wouldn't you say?
Awareness is the first step, so absolutely. Being like, wow, this thing happened to me, this is similar, I'm having a bit of a trauma response. That's huge. That's huge.
Yes, okay. Well, let's talk also. I know one of the most popular topics is abundance, because this comes out, even, all of this programming, the block, it actually translates into abundance blocks. Mm-hmm. And what have you identified as that being? What are the causes for abundance to be blocked?
I love this. What a great question. It has a lot to do with our sense of safety in the world. Absolutely. Our sense of safety, our sense of identity. a sense of who we really are in the world and whether or not we belong. Also, I really do feel like in today's world, there's a lot of programming around, we're talking about spirituality here. So, money is bad. There's all of these, belief systems or programmings or branding around abundance is bad. So, an example, a client of mine, she's an incredible coach. She's done really great work in the world. And no matter what she did, no matter who she hired to help her build her business, she kept getting blocked at a certain level of, financial freedom in her business. And she came to me and we identified that this block of abundance had nothing to do with systems in her business, had nothing to do with exposure. It had to do with a moment in time in her past where when she asked for more when she was a child, her dad said no and yelled at her. So that one moment, which some people may not resonate as being a trauma, traumatized her and instilled a belief system that asking for more is bad. So she was subconsciously pushing away opportunities for abundance in her business because once she hit a certain level of finances, this belief system of I'm selfish, this is bad would come up and it would naturally push it away. So in business and life, it can be not emailing the person back. It can be not following through. It can be procrastination. It can be causing conflict where there isn't conflict. Do you know what I'm saying? It can be not potentially investing in yourself when you know that investment is going to help you have more abundance. So it's really about asking yourself where are some of your belief systems, like what was your upbringing like? Who did you spend time with? Was it a space where people talked about money and felt good about it, or was it shamed, or you have to be modest? Like all of those little pieces are relevant, and asking yourself when it comes down to it, how do you feel about having abundance in your life? Can you keep it? Do you push it away? And a simple thing that you can do to help clear some of your abundance blocks, a really simple exercise, is there's a couple questions that you can ask yourself multiple times on a piece of paper. And you do this like probably 10 to 15 times. And the first question is, regarding your relationship to abundance, whether it's finances or, abundance can mean so many different things. Tell me something that you wish you had done differently. And so this first step is about acknowledging something that's happened with your relationship to abundance that doesn't feel good. Because once we start to get clear on how we haven't shown up in a way that we want, we can actually create more freedom and we can release that pattern. The second question is, how has this impacted you and others? Well, because I had this experience with money, maybe, you've used credit cards to the max or whatever the thing is that came to the surface, this impacted me and others in this way. What would you do differently now? So it's about releasing the past, having clarity on it in an energetic form, and then also stating how you're going to show up differently. And that's telling your body, your mind, your soul, your spirit, like, okay, that's the past, and moving forward, I want to show up this way. And I find that exercise, those 3 questions, asking yourself that, 5, 10, 15 times on different situations where potentially you've had a funky dynamic with abundance and money, it can shift it greatly.
Yes, thank you for that. It's
Absolutely.
belief systems, as we have growing up and looking at, when you look out at the world and you see how some people just are rock stars at what they're able to do and create, and others standing right next to them. Maybe they even grew up as friends, right? And yet they lead such different lives as adults. And when you look under the hood, so to speak, and start seeing the consciousness of each, we can see there's a different consciousness, isn't there? And that's all this programming that we're talking about, programming and experiences. Or again, if you had to return a pair of shoes back to the store when you were a little girl, that happened to me. And that experience right there actually led into a very tough time with money later in life. that came to a head. And it was, you were right. We make a decision, don't we? At some point, we get to a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to change that. I'm going to shift it. And that's what we really need to do. And once we own that, we're able to change our words and change our feelings about it. What would you say about, it's like lack consciousness, or we could say poverty consciousness, but it really is lack.
Yeah, I do feel it's lack, absolutely, and it's interesting. I love that you just shared that with, returning shoes and how that really impacted you. I realized 4 years ago, before I really stepped into a new business, that I had, blocks around being a woman and making a certain amount of money. And so that was very much like, oh, where did this come? Oh, this comes from my family, that women aren't taken seriously. And so it's one of the things that really supported me there was putting mantras in my phone of, I am a powerful woman with massive work to do in the world, and I am highly compensated. And so it's definitely a lack mentality, absolutely. And it's also these experiences that we have where we had a strong emotion, or we weren't able to potentially have what we wanted, or we were told we couldn't, and it just sticks, and it can really lead in. So I'm curious, what did you do to shift your belief system around money, as you said that was impacting you in the space of abundance?
I did what you did as well. So, I mean, it took decades. It literally took decades. First for the awareness, and then once unraveling it, there's a book, Happy Pocket Full of Money. There's Abraham Hicks and mantras that come from that. And it really was being aware of where we were. Well, first I had to change my relationship with money. I literally went to the grocery store with $100 bill. And at the same time, I would keep a $100 bill in my wallet so that I could never say I didn't have money.
I love that.
Right? There's an energetic there. Well, first I began keeping my purse off the floor, right? Respecting your purse, respecting the money flow that goes into it. It really was an energetic shift. And then it was respecting how much or what do you really need. If you go to the grocery store with only $100, you're only going to buy what you need. And this was at a time when I had a little boy in diapers. And so it was, those diapers were expensive. And so $100, the diapers take up a quarter of that.
Right.
So it was just this long, and then there were experiences in reality, looking out and seeing exactly what I created because of poverty consciousness.
Right.
And then realizing it was my husband and I as well. And it was really very quite interesting. Again, you know what? There was a little surrender. When I saw how, okay, so we had this big expense. It was just big, big, big. It was very interesting, a lofty goal that we might have. So I had a very lofty goal for my business. Well, I met the lofty goal, but in the very same month, I had a big expense that actually took the exact growth of the lofty goal. It matched perfectly. So I kind of smiled at that. And so, don't cling to money. That was a lesson. You got to let it flow. And there was another big car expense. I needed 4 new tires right after that. It just seemed like there were many bills coming. And I know other people feel this. But it was at the moment that I looked and I saw the young man changing the tires on my car that I was able to see from a perspective that the money was flowing to him and his family, which included a wife and child at home. So I saw that picture and I realized that I was happy about spending this money because I could see the contribution of it. And then a bunch of games along the way. We can talk more about games because that's always helpful for everyone. But we have to have fun with it, right? We have to have fun with it. Yes.
Yeah, and I love that. One of the things that I do as well is anytime I have a big expense coming out of my bank account or I'm paying someone, whether it's for a coffee, whether it's for a new computer, no matter what it is, I say thank you. So no matter what I'm paying, I say thank you. I take a moment to close my eyes and to feel everything that I am receiving in the form of abundance, like the experience that I get. So it's like, okay, I just paid my property taxes on my houses, and I'm just like, oh wow, like those were are some lofty bills, but it's like, thank you, I have all of this space and freedom and this beautiful home, and and it's really about appreciating and feeling the exchange, because when you appreciate the exchange, your relationship with money changes.
That's very important. And that right there helps so many. It doesn't seem correct that we would be excited to pay our bills each month, but I'm actually at that point. I am excited to pay my bills each month if you can get into a really good system. And actually there's other tools that when you get savvy at this, it opens you up to those ideas and strategies that actually unravel from the old paradigm, because we just weren't taught about how they work and all of that. And so I just think it's really fun. And for those who have blocks, money games are really good because of the way it does shift the energy. And I want to share another one. Have you ever, there's so many. We were talking about Abraham Hicks, but I wanted to share one that is one that really turns us into philanthropists. Isn't that interesting? Because if you were to take, you know what, we could probably walk you through this, but this is an interview with you. If you were to spend $1,000 a day, the next day spend another $2,000, the next day spend $3,000, get to a point where you do what you'd want to do. Maybe there's dreams and things or stuff that we want, or places we want to go, or experiences we want to have. But as we have to spend more and more money, we get to a point where eventually, like after 15 days, now we spent $14,000 yesterday, and now today we have to spend $15,000.
Right.
That turns us into, for me, when I did that exercise, it turned me into a philanthropist, meaning we start thinking about other people, and we start thinking about, and you have to spend that money. Right. So when you are challenged to see, okay, then the next problem is you need to put the money where it can go and help and do the most good. And I think when we are able to do that, if we did that for just a month in our month, we would learn so much about ourselves and our mission, because we start thinking about ways we can help other people, or maybe fund scholarships. I mean, the sky's the limit. Scholarships for certain ideas. Anyway, I just think that exercise expands consciousness around what we do with our funds. Because, on one hand, if we don't have enough funds to get through or to get those basic things that we'd like, then there's no way we can even think of how to even begin sharing it and using it for the higher good. Well, there could be ways. There could definitely be ways, but it just helps to do an exercise like that.
Absolutely. And what I really love to talk about with money and abundance is like putting your money where your dreams are, So I love the idea that, when you went to the grocery store, you're like, what do I need, right? And I think a question that sometimes we can forget to ask ourselves within the needs is, what do I need? We all need to feel safe. We all need a place to sleep. We need some food and all those things, but we also can spend our money on things that we don't actually need, and there are wants. And I remember being a little bit of a different dynamic, but the story, the core message is the same. I was in Bali a few years ago, and I was crying. I was walking down the street. My boyfriend and I at the time, we got into a fight, and I was walking away from spending the day with him, and I stumbled into this restaurant, and there was a man there, and he could tell I was a little bit upset, and he's Balinese, and he didn't ask much about what was going on, but the first thing he said to me, he's like, so often in life and relationship, we seek for what we go after what we want. We're like, this is what I want. And that's beautiful, but oftentimes when we go after what we want, we don't get our needs met, and then we're creating a foundation that isn't solid. And so just like with finances, just with love, just with anything that we're creating, if you focus on getting your needs met, which is being happy, fulfilled, nourishing yourself, having the right community of people around you, and really focusing on things that fill up your cup from the inside out, naturally you are going to create more abundance in the outside world. But oftentimes we focus too much on what we don't have and what we want, and we don't get our needs met, and then we have challenges also with abundance, our relationship, our purpose, and so much more. So really fun when something's going on in your world or my world, and someone gives me a random message that I needed to hear, and I just thought that was so powerful.
Isn't that amazing? Yes. And, if that was almost angelic guidance for him to, or synchronicity for him to just give you that message that made such an impact. So as we're talking about impacts, let's also talk about entrepreneurship. For those who want to step into their purpose, and even for those who are really feeling a step up in living their heart's call and creating a service or a business or a product for New Earth, let's talk about how you would help people identify that within themselves or even go forward. What do you find are some of the biggest hurdles that your clients face?
Great question. So number one, the first thing that we all face when we're stepping deeper into our space of truth, deeper spaces of abundance, influence, impact, and really being who we're meant to be in the world is ourself. It's our past, it's our trauma, it's our belief systems, which we've talked about, right? So those are pieces that are infused into all of the work that I do, because we are constantly evolving, and every new level of you and me and everyone else really is asking for a new level of you, new belief systems, new leveling up, new skills, right? And a higher vibration, especially like I love the new earth, right? We're creating a new earth, and with the space of creating a new earth, we need to be at our highest vibration and constantly be pouring in to ourselves so that we can pour into the world even more. So the first piece is really about doing that deeper work, really learning to trust yourself on a very deep level so that you can take massive inspired action and not second guess yourself, because the second guessing is what blocks us from giving our gift to the world. And so that's a big part of it. The next part is I facilitate masterminds to support impact-driven entrepreneurs, visionaries, leaders, and those who know on a deep level that they are here to create that new earth, that they have a mission, that they have a vision, that they have a product or service that needs to be known and needs to be broadcasted. What I support them to do is create a business that's scalable, that's online, where you can have time and freedom and really go out and make a bigger impact in the world from creating online courses and different funnels and pieces in your business so that you can have that freedom, you can have your finances and really live the kind of life that you want, rather than working hours and hours and hours feeling like you're going nowhere and not really fully living in your gift. So in the mastermind, it's about radical alignment. That's the name of my business. So being radically aligned on all areas of life, because all areas of life matter and you don't need to compromise. And then really stepping into a higher level of leadership. When we're in spaces, and as I'm sure you know this, is when we're in these spaces and these environments where people are at a certain level of integrity, people are aligned with their values, they're on mission, they're on purpose, it brings all of us up, it levels all of us up to play a bigger game in the world with our mission, with our vision, with our products, with our services, and really become leaders in the world where we can be recognized, not only leaders as far as being known, but being the leader that maybe you wish that you had in an area of your life, or the leader that you wish is not existing in the world right now. And so I help people become the leader they've always wanted to be and create businesses so that you have time to do what you love, so that you have time and freedom to have fun, right? Because we're here to have fun too, and also to make an impact and have global reach. So those are some of the areas that I support people with, and I absolutely love it. It's so much fun, and it's like you don't have to compromise in life. You can have it all, and it comes down to being in the right environment, having the right support, knowing where you're going, making sure you're planning to get what's in the way out of the way, and surrounding yourself with people who are where you want to be and are going to help you really step into a higher level of leadership. And that's really what it's all about.
Yes, stepping up and having the support to do that and investing in ourselves to do that. Mm-hmm. So I would love to share right now, and speaking of creating more time and freedom and success, you have a tool, it's a beautiful tool, an online course that is a great way to manifest all these changes. It is called Goal Attainment Intensive. And this is beautiful because you said this will really help people make great progress. So tell us about this course.
Well, I love this course because the course itself isn't super long. However, at the end of the course, at the end of this intensive, you're going to have everything you need to set yourself up for the next 12 months to accelerate your path to impact, accelerate your path to success, and really take the obstacles that are potentially in your way right now and have been in the past out of the way so that you can just show up for your dreams, show up for your vision, show up for your work. And so in this intensive, what we do is we remove patterns that have blocked you in the past so that you can just meet your goals, meet your vision, meet yourself, meet the people, show up bigger in the community. And then the next piece is we map out an entire year plan with those 3 goals. Step by step, every week, every month, every quarter, you're going to know exactly what you need to do to move that forward. One of the biggest challenges entrepreneurs face is overwhelm, shiny object syndrome, or opportunity syndrome, I should say, and not knowing how to get what's in the way out of the way. So we're trying to achieve our goals, and then you know what? Maybe you're doing a TEDx, and you're like, oh my gosh, like this is really scary, and I don't know how to do that next piece, or we have these obstacles that arise, and we don't necessarily know what to do with them. So what can happen? We can either play small and say, you know what, maybe I'll do that next year because I don't have time for it now because maybe we've overcommitted. We had too much on our plate. Or we quit. We tell ourselves that wasn't for me, it was too hard. Or the third option is we plan for it and map it out so that when what you have is in front of you, you know all of the steps to take, you've hired all of the people, and you're supported the whole time. Because the difference between those who are showing up and meeting life fully and are part of this new earth and are really making the impact, and those who feel like they're playing small and aren't, are the ones who are actually taking the time to sit down and plan things out, hire the right people, and are putting their money where their dreams are. So this is an intensive program. It's about 5 hours long, and after the 5 hours, you're going to have everything you need to master your goals this year, and it's super fun, and it's one of my favorite programs to facilitate, and it's divinely aligned. And it's so cool because I did this for the first time on myself a few years ago, and on that vision in my map of my goals, I wrote down I wanted to have a TEDx, I wanted to run my first live event, and I wanted to move to Bali. And so there's this really cool exercise that we do where you actually have a vision statement that embodies everything being already done. And I remember waking up in Bali one day with 15 people coming to Bali from all over the world for my retreat, and finding out that my TEDx just went live and everything else coming into play. And I was like, wow, this is the exact sentence or paragraph that I wrote from this workshop, this intensive, and it's so powerful. And that's what I'd love to invite you to jump into. I'd really love to support you. It's lots of fun, and it is the pathway to accelerating your goals and having fun, not stressing out about it.
Oh, wow. It sounds wonderful. Okay, so that special offer is available right here on this webpage. It is the Goal Attainment Intensive. And so it's 5 modules. And when someone gets done with it, they literally walk away with that plan, the roadmap for 12 months, the next 12 months.
Yeah.
That may seem daunting to people.
Right.
Does it meet people where they're at, like for some who may not have a clear idea, or how clear does someone have to get on those 12 months?
Right. So the program is super broken down to make it easy for anyone, no matter where you're at. There's some pre-work to stepping into the intensive. And because this program is available in a recording, you can come back to it anytime. So if at any time you're like, whoa, I need to feel into this, I need to take the next step, you can press pause and come back to it. It's based in a way, it's created in a way that makes it very simple to follow, and it's a step-by-step guide. So it's really going to meet you where you're at, and it's going to create the pathway to success, and you're going to walk away feeling really confident and complete with the next 12 months. So great question.
Perfect. And so if people need support from you, can they email you, or is there a way on your platform for them to ask questions?
Absolutely. So they can email. We also have a chat box within the program where you can reach out directly to myself or someone on my team, and we'll get back to you right away. Perfect.
Okay, so for those who are feeling that call but they need a little extra help, a little bit of extra guidance, this is a perfect course for that. Anything else you'd like to add about your course?
What do I want to add? This is the best program I've ever taken or created for achieving your goals and making things happen in the least amount of time, because we work on the actual physical world, like what you need to do, who you need to hire. We look at the mental, the emotional. We look at the identities, like the personality that you are in. And we do this really incredible exercise that I won't tell you too much about, but essentially we rate your likelihood of actually achieving that goal based on where you're at today, so that we can get radically honest with ourselves, so that you can make the changes necessary if this is a goal that's fully aligned with you, or maybe it's something that potentially you think you should do that isn't really aligned with your soul's calling, because everything that I do and facilitate is all about purpose, radical alignment, and where you're going, and nothing filler. So the program's fun. You're going to laugh. I laugh a lot. I'm a bit of a goof when you get to know me, more in the teaching space, and you're going to be supported every step of the way. So we're doing a really special offer specifically for this show. It's significantly less than what we normally charge. So today, when you sign up for the program, you're going to get a massive discount. And I'm just really looking forward to meeting more of your community. I love what you do. I love this show. And if you are really ready to make a bigger impact in the world, to stop playing small, to make things be easy, to take the path of least resistance, this program is going to support you every step of the way. And you're going to have fun doing it.
That's the key, is to have fun and to bring forward all of our gifts and joys and passion and skills and talents. And Deidra is a perfect coach for you if you want to achieve this and make great attainments in your goals. This is a great program for that. Deidre, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate your time and the way that you inspire people and bring out the heart-centered business aspects with them. I really appreciate your time. And as we close today, is there a final comment?
Well, thank you so much for having me. There's a quote that I love to say, and it really just came through me one day, and ever since it's been something that I've been saying, but also I have it in my home on the wall because it just reminds me to show up, to continue to show up for my dreams, to continue to know where I'm going, and to say yes to opportunities that are in front of me, and to not play small. And the quote is, the question is not whether or not you are here to do great things. The question is, are you ready to wake up to the truth of who you are and who you're meant to be? And our infinite potential, your true identity, your purpose, the vision that you've had of yourself, of being on a stage potentially in front of hundreds or thousands of people or whatever it may be, that is a possibility. That's the vision, and it's important that you take action and meet it so that you can really wake up to your full potential and manifest that. And that's what the world right now is asking for all of us to do. So again, thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be on your show, and I love this conversation.
Well, thank you. The world needs this type of action now, and forward movement, and there's so many opportunities that we can see all around us on all fronts. So now is the time, and we know that everyone listening is a new earth leader and a new earth creator. Deidre Sirianni, thank you so much for this quantum conversation.
Thank you for having me.
If you would love to work with Deidre, she has her special offer right here on this webpage. Check it out. Get registered. We are excited that you are taking that next step. And we are excited for New Earth creations as we all bring them about, one heart at a time. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Now it is time to integrate what we learned and dance our way to the cosmic heart. for listening to this quantum conversation, and thank you for dancing with us to the cosmic heart. As we raise our own vibration, we raise the vibration of the planet. This show is dedicated to you and all awakening hearts, as we are here to shine our bright light and amplify our love. Access all quantum conversations, special offers from our guests, and online healing retreats by visiting acoustichealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and from my sacred heart to yours, I honor your magnificent love and light. We leave you now with music from the universe. Music literally created by the universe, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com. Namaste.